Hello everyone, welcome back to Sonic Boom Goofs. Today we'll be taking a look at Episode 4, Buster. So let's get right into it. So the first goof can be seen almost right away. After Mike's ice cream gets melted, there's a green splotch on it despite there not being any green ice cream on the cone before. This is because they use the same model that they use later in the episode after Buster, who leaves this green goop on everything he touches, eats Amy's ice cream.
The evil anti-fire bot is putting a baby walrus into a burning house!
Although Sonic does rescue the baby, no one ever addresses the burning house, which is kind of concerning. Now this may not count as a goof, but the magazine that Eggman was reading before is now gone. Something I certainly will count as a goof is that we can clearly see that this kitten is on a branch on the right side of the tree. However, when Styx shakes the kitten out, it falls from the left side of the tree.
Styx, we want to talk about how you treat animals.
Tails doesn't appear to be sitting next to Knuckles here, but a couple shots later, he is. I won't count this as a goof though, since he could have moved there in between shots. But then Styx's mouth suddenly jumps to another expression without a smooth transition. Then we can see that Sonic isn't casting a shadow on the couch, and Knuckles isn't casting a shadow on the floor. The arrangement of garbage inside the can in this shot is different from what we see from inside the can, but I personally feel that counting that as a goof would be getting too nitpicky.
The least objectionable option?
Styx wanting a robotic dog as a pet is very inconsistent from Styx's negative view on robots shown in the rest of the series. It's also strange that Styx describes Buster as being adorable in a positive manner.
Finally, I have an adorable little pet that doesn't disgust me!
Despite saying that she hates things that are adorable in an earlier part of the episode.
I ain't cute, fuzzy, and adorable!
I'm unsure whether these inconsistencies should count as goofs, so I'll just count them both as half goofs, thus adding 1 to the counter. In the moments leading up to Buster lunging at Amy's ice cream, you can just barely see him waiting at the left edge of the screen. This is a goof because Buster realistically would have run up to jump at the ice cream rather than lunging from that one spot. The goo that Buster drips onto Tails' workbench is gone a few moments later. In the next scene, we can see that there are a couple of villagers sitting at this table, but in this panoramic shot, that table is empty. This goof was pointed out by the Sonic Wiki. There are also some inexplicable dots next to Buster at the beginning of the scene.
They've got slime on them!
I'm quite certain Knuckles was sitting here moments ago. He could have moved while the camera was looking at Tails, but I don't think that makes sense in this case. So then a warehouse worker comes running for help, but after he passes over this thing, he's no longer touching the ground. So the warehouse doors are completely blown to pieces, but a few seconds later, one of them is restored and all the debris is gone. The warehouse is also casting this odd silhouette onto the background. Now there are several more inconsistencies that happen with these doors that would take way too long to explain individually. The only other one that I feel is significant enough to point out is that later in the scene, the doors are completely restored. Now going back to the beginning of the fight, when Knuckles runs up to the B-bots, he just appears on the side of the screen rather than running in from off-screen. And after Orbot and Cubot start to escape with the goods, the Sonic and Tails masks that they were wearing before have disappeared. Now moving on to the next scene, we see one of the more well-known goofs from this episode. In some shots, Styx's eyes appear to be green. But this certainly isn't the only goof in this scene. In this shot, Styx's tail is overlapping the box as if the box is to her left. But in the previous shot, we can see that the box is actually to her right. Now notice how the camera angle changes while Styx is talking.
You bought him a cluster sock for our 1-week anniversary.
Her mouth actually stops moving before the angle changes. Then we get to one of the craziest goofs in this episode. When the camera zooms out from Amy, this giant thing appears behind Knuckles. At first, I thought one of the palm trees somehow got inside the house, but what this actually is one of the strings that holds up the seat that Styx is sitting on. The reason that this is a goof is because Knuckles is overlapping it, even though the string would obviously be much closer to the camera in a physical space. And in case you're wondering how this could have happened, I believe it's because the characters and the backgrounds are rendered separately, then layered on top of each other.
Well, if Buster goes, I go!
The round brown pillow that was on the seat before is now gone. But then it's back, and the box is replaced with a different pillow.
Oh, I guess that means we go.
Wait,
When everyone started to leave, Knuckles was first in line to the door, but now he seems to be last in line. And remember what I was saying about the backgrounds and the characters being rendered separately? Well, the same is true for Eggman peeking around the door, but they masked him in extremely sloppily. He covers most of the door handle, he overlaps the door jamb a little bit, and on the last frame of the zoom in, part of the door jamb even gets deleted. My guess is that this was just a rough masking that they did when putting together the episode's assets, but they forgot to refine it before publishing. And that's not it for door-related goofs. When Eggman enters, the door and even the back door have disappeared entirely. Also, the box Eggman is carrying has shrunken significantly from the last shot. He was also holding it with the hinges facing in towards him, but now the hinges are facing outward. Now when Sonic and Sticks move their feet, their shadows don't move with them, just leaving these dark spots where they used to be standing. The same thing happened with Amy earlier in the episode.
And now I want to give him this little present.
When Eggman pulls off the ribbon, his thumb clips through it ever so slightly. And when Eggman drops the ribbon, if we look closely behind Stick's head, we can see that the ribbon just disappears without actually falling onto the floor. Then another one of those strings gets in the camera's view, which again the characters incorrectly overlap. Now as everyone leaves the house, there are 4 goofs that can be seen. Buster overlaps the door jamb as he jumps out. All the furniture in the house has disappeared. Eggman's mustache is in front of the wall when he is behind it. And as Sticks walks out of the house, her hair appears to be gray. Probably a reaction to seeing how many goofs there have been in just the last minute. Then we get a break from the goofs for about 20 seconds until Knuckles' sports tape appears red in this shot. So during the battle against Buster, there are a number of inconsistencies with where Buster and the other characters are standing, such as the fact that everyone is standing here on Tails' porch, but then Sonic is suddenly battling Buster way out in the middle of Tails' yard. Then about a minute into the battle, Buster's leg clips into this fence a little bit. And another goof that was pointed out by the Sonic Wiki is that during this flashback, Stick's arm bracelet is black instead of gold as it should be.
Buster!
Then, after Buster sits down, Stick's necklace flips up for no reason. It was probably meant to do that while the camera was shaking. And speaking of when the camera was shaking, Sticks twitched, because this frame of her animation appeared 15 frames too early. And then, when Buster throws Eggman, this frame appears 15 frames too early. So finally, after a long string of weird and difficult to explain goofs, we're left off with one more, relatively simple goof. When Sticks is saying goodbye to Buster, this piece of metal on his chest is still flat, but then it suddenly becomes a loop for Sticks to stick the stick into. And with that, the episode comes to a close. So there you have it, that made for around 44 goofs in episode 4. As per usual, let me know in the comments if you saw any other goofs that I didn't point out. But anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. And for waiting so long for episode 4.